Hey, good morning, options traders, and welcome back. Well, I often talk about strategies that involve random patterns, such as things like scaling in and out of positions. You've heard me talk about that before. Or perhaps writing options across different expirations to capture average volatilities. We've talked about that. There's a lot of different tactics you can use as an options trader to put randomness in your corner. The problem is that traders often believe that using randomness in your trading has no benefits. But randomness is one of the most powerful tools you can use. So think about this. If market price changes are random, seems like there's not really any rhyme or reason to whether they're up or down, can you possibly use randomness to improve your results? Well, again, it seems like the answer would be no, but as a fun demonstration, let's answer an interesting question. Can we use randomness to make predictions? So let's start with the idea of random numbers. I think everybody knows that the idea of random means that there's no pattern or rhyme or reason to it. So there's no way to predict the next outcome. And in mathematics, we would call these independent events. So simple example is, let's say we roll a pair of dice and we get 7. Well, that answer or that knowledge has no bearing on what we're going to get next. Sometimes people would think, oh, well, it's going to be less likely to get 7 again. Not true. They are all equally likely, all of these combinations. So that's a real simple idea of random numbers and that are independent. In other words, knowing the outcome of one roll has no bearing on what's going to happen next. So when we're dealing with random numbers, random information seems like it would be useless. But random numbers can be used to make predictions. So to do a more of a fun demonstration, let's take a look at a fun mathematical game. And here's what we're going to do. You get to pick 2 numbers. And they could theoretically be any numbers. It depends on how we structure the game. But it could be any 2 numbers that you want in the world, even if they're down to decimals. And you're going to write these down on 2 separate cards, and you're going to put them face down in front of me. You're then going to turn over 1 card, and then I must predict if the second number is greater or less than the first. So if you word it this way, it sounds like there's no way I could possibly know. It's basically a 50-50 shot. So how could I ever have any type of a system that would assist me and improve my odds on guessing this? Well, to make the demonstration simpler to follow, let's just limit the numbers that you can choose from 1 to 1,000. Now again, this works even if we wanted to go to negative a trillion to positive a trillion. It doesn't matter, but I'm doing this just to make it simpler to follow. So those are the rules. You come up and you say, okay, I'm going to pick, let's say, 500 and 700. Now, of course, I don't know this, but these are the 2 numbers that you've chosen. So we start the game, and here's your first card face down, and here's your second card. Now you turn over the first card, and it says 500. And I have to predict whether the second one is greater or less than 500. Now, what you didn't know is that before we started this game, I drew a random number from 1 to 1,000. And let's just say that I get 600. I'm going to compare my random number to your first number. And if it's greater than that, I'm going to predict that the second number must be greater. And so you turn it over, and there it is. The second number is greater than the first. Now, what if you had switched the numbers? What if you turned over the card and it said 700 first? Well, again, all I need to do is look at my random number. I see that it's less than your number. And so I'm going to predict that the second one must be less. And it is. So the key is, the thing that makes this work is that my random number must fall between your 2 chosen numbers. So the wider this gap in here, the more likely I am to, in fact, guess it correctly. So I made this just symmetrical to make it easy to follow, but if my number had been 601 or 699 or 501, anything between 500 and 700, it still would work exactly the same way. But the whole idea, and that's so fascinating about this, is that it seems like there's no way that I could have an edge in guessing whether your second number is greater or less than the first. And the way that you do it is to use a random number. So once again, for this game, as long as the random number falls between your two chosen numbers, then the person guessing will win the bet. So it turns out that the person guessing can't do worse than a 50% chance, but the random number ensures it will be greater than 50%. So to improve your trading, yes, it's true that market price changes are random. And that leads a lot of people to say, what are we supposed to do? But using randomness will improve your results. So as I talked about before, scaling in and out of positions is a way of using randomness to improve your outcomes. Writing or selling options across multiple expirations so that you can capture the average volatility is a way to improve your results. Selling half and rolling half, another idea I've talked about in a previous video, is another way of using randomness to improve your results. So while you may not ever know what the best price is until expiration, you can use randomness to improve your chances of capturing it. For anyone who'd like to learn more about the art and science of options trading, please check out the Alpha Trader course, Strategy Lab, and a brand new technical analysis course, brand new for 2021. You can find it all at optionsatoz.com. Also, please join us on the Facebook trading group, Options A to Z, and you can find a link in the description below.